Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Stuart E. Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moya Swerdlow
And the Ewok creature from another world, galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everybody.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the third week of March 2019. And it is actually spring. Although...
In the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, in the Northern Hemisphere. And autumn in the Southern Hemisphere. But it's freaking cold here. This morning, for those of you who care, it was like -7 Celsius. So it's like 1920 Fahrenheit. But I decided I'm going to dress like it's spring anyway.
You do anyway.
Because I don't care. I had enough of the winter, eh? So, do you have anything you want to say before I begin? Oh, yes, I do.
What?
I'm so happy that Janet is back with me. Because I'm so helpless without you. Nobody cooks for me, takes care of me. I let the dogs run away and the cats poop on everything. It was terrible. It was terrible.
You're so helpless.
I am. But anyway, let's go to some spiritual news.
Okay.
Because, guess what? Some Christian... They call them Noahides, which means these are, or B'nai Noach, which means these are Christian people who are supportive of or believing in the Jewish traditions and blah blah. And so, these people found 600 kilos of what is believed to be what is called ketoret, which is incense used in the temple service. And it was discovered by these people in actually 1992.
Like this is old stuff they found.
Yes, but now it's in the news now because they said, could its discovery be connected to the reestablishment of the Third Temple and the Messianic era? Which, as you know, I'll explain this at the end, Netanyahu, whose name... in Hebrew, if you change some of the letters, it means Yonatan or Jonathan, which was, I believe, one of the sons of King David. Anyway, this and also what happens at the same time is the birth of a red heifer, which is essential for the temple service and is very significant. For example, in the
you have talked about the red heifer before.
Yeah, so it says the Bible says to instruct Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, to bring you a red cow without blemish, like me, or maybe you.
You want to be sacrificed.
Maybe you're a red cow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a good thing you're on camera.
Truly. In which there's no defect. Maybe I'll go over it. And on which there's no yoke, or like, what do they call that in English? Like the thing they put around the neck for a cow. Yoke. Not like an egg yolk, but like a thing that you pull on the plow. Has been laid. So in other words, they cannot have anything that had been on them for plowing and so on.
So the people can't have anything on them for plowing?
No, so in other words, this red heifer has to have no blemish and nothing has been placed on it for work and like that.
Gotcha.
So a team member, they were exploring the caves in Qumran in the Judean hills, fell into a hole. And when they started cleaning out the hole, it led to a cave. And when they started excavating the cave from the outside, there were layers of stones and sand and so on, rubble and blah blah. So this type of phenomenon occurs when buckets of dirt and debris are intentionally thrown over a particular area, like a camouflage, to cover and hide the cave. And so this ketoret or incense is an important symbol of man's ability to unify with the Creator. So in Aramaic, the language of the Zohar, which we know I have been teaching, it's the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, ketoret, like the Hebrew word keser. The Hebrew has 3 letters that are root letters, and other words can come. It means connection, referring to the connection to God that the ketoret facilitates. It has the power to elevate and bind a person to his or her spiritual root. So Netanyahu has said, and I've said this before on other podcasts, that the 3rd temple will be built during his leadership in Israel. And the election is coming up April 9th. And of course, the news, the mainstream media says, oh, he's in trouble, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Trump supports him. He just sent the Secretary of State Pompeo to support him. And he's coming to Washington, D.C. this soon. So I do know he will survive this. Also, in relation to this, the Golan Heights has been recognized by President Trump as being part of Israel. As you know, this was captured in 1967, so 52 years ago, during the Six-Day War. And people, the Golan Heights has to be returned, blah, blah, blah. Well, biblically and messianically important, the Golan Heights was always part of ancient Israel. It's not part of Syria. It was part of the kingdom of Israel, always. And so it belongs to them. And the other thing was this past week, March 20th, was Purim, a big holiday. And also at the same time was the beginning of spring and the supermoon. So according to Kabbalistic rabbis, that means the Messiah is close. And get this, I know you won't like this, according to the Torah and the Zohar, you're supposed to get very, very drunk on Purim so that you don't even know the difference between good and evil. Why? Because it coincides with the first day of spring, a holiday of the Jewish queen Esther of Persia. She actually married the king of Persia. She was a Jewish person. He fell in love with her. He married. And she discovered that his, what we would consider Secretary of State, Haman, was trying to assassinate all the Jews. And she told this to the king, and then he executed Haman. And so it is a holiday of overcoming enemies of Israel and the elimination of evil from the government. And so that is actually what is occurring now in the United States, where President Trump and his group will, if I say the name, will be banished from YouTube because there's censorship, unfortunately, in the United States right now. And so this represents what is occurring now in the United States, elimination of evil from the government. Now, let's go to Europe. Sweden. I don't know what the heck's going on with you, Sweden. The Swedish government will be opening the doors to China's persecuted Uyghur Muslims and allow them to claim asylum in that country.
Really? That surprises me.
Hello? The decision was made by the Swedish Migration Board to ease up the regulations of Uyghur Muslims claiming asylum in Sweden, saying that they, along with other persecuted Muslims, would be welcome. And this is according to Sveriges Radio. Sverige is a Swedish name for Sweden.
Is radio the name for radio?
You know, Sverige is Sweden in Swedish. Sverdlov, Sverige, it's related. And my family does come from Sweden. Now, Sweden has 10.2 million people. But the Uyghur population of China is 11 million.
How many are they going to let in?
So yeah, that's my question. So that means if they let in 11 million, that means there'll be over 20 million people and only this many will be Swedish. Hello? What the hell's wrong with that? So, of course, the Chinese government has severely cracked down on the Uyghur, especially in western Xinjiang region, which is near Tibet, which also does not belong to China. And it says the cost of the recent migrants have put a strain on some of the municipalities forcing many to consider raising taxes in order to pay for social services. So in other words, they're raising taxes on Swedish-born citizens to pay for these immigrants who have nothing to do with Sweden. That's just plain
I'm surprised the Swedish people are putting up with this. I'm surprised they're not revolting.
That's what I'm saying. And they're Vikings. What the heck? And it said that the government is even looking to raise the retirement age to cover the cost to pay for these people who don't belong there.
Makes
So like
sense.
Swedish people that work till they're 80 years old to pay for these, 20-year-old Muslim terrorists that come in.
It doesn't make any
This
sense.
is a
to
big
me.
mistake. Sweden is an example of national suicide. How very sad.
That's true.
And I hope that the Swedish people will do something about this in a non-violent way and eliminate this destruction of what once was a very beautiful, wonderful country.
Don't they have a king and queen?
Yes, but they're just,
Figureheads, but
Yeah.
they should be able to do something to stop
they
this.
can do nothing. They're too glad to stay in power.
So to speak.
Now, as you know, that I was in Mexico and Ecuador. In fact, I was in Mexico 2 times in March. And while I was sitting, waiting for my flight, I thought, I hope the volcanoes don't go off. Because do you remember many years ago we were in Mexico City, and when we took off, the volcano was exploding, and they said it was very dangerous.
Right.
So it's called Mount Popocatépetl. Can you say that? Popocatépetl.
Yes, I can, but the thing is, you just report these stories because you want to say the words.
I love saying Popocatépetl. Anyway, there was a massive explosion at Mount Popocatépetl, which sent a volume of volcanic ash a mile, that's 2 kilometers, into the sky. And they warned everyone to stay at least 12 kilometers away from the crater. I would say a lot more than that. And they said the devastation could be off the charts. Mexico City, where I was, is only 43 miles away from Mount Popocatépetl, and approximately 25 million people live within a 60-mile or 100-kilometer radius of the crater. Now, this has been increasingly active in recent months, and scientists say could be leading up to something really big, and they are currently preparing for the worst-case scenario. Now, this volcano is almost equal to Yellowstone exploding. It would be a disaster for all of North America. But many, many years ago, I was told that underneath this Mount Popocatépetl is a chamber of reptilians in stasis. And that I was told when the volcanoes go off, this is a sign that the stasis chambers are being activated to reanimate these ancient reptilians to do whatever they're going to do.
But it's been going off on and off for a long time.
Yeah, but now it's like really serious. And here's something else. In a new report prepared for Prime Minister Putin by the Institute of Physics of the Earth in Russia, warned that America in the next 2 weeks is in danger of catastrophic proportions earthquake.
I read that.
Now, they are focusing on the United States, Mexico, Central and South America, and all of the region on the West Coast, and even along the New Madrid fault line. The Russian scientists say that to prepare for a terrifying and unprecedented magnitude 9 mega earthquake that could unleash a deadly tsunami with 30-meter high waves, 100-foot high waves off the coast of the west coast of the United States. The last time there was a 9-point event was in 1700. It's roughly 30 times more powerful than anything the San Andreas fault line can do. The report warned that further catastrophic earthquakes in Asia and the subcontinent, which is India, is more than likely. They said it's based on the growth of subtle electromagnetic signals that were detected in the upper atmosphere of the Earth in many parts of the world, with the most intense on the West Coast and Midwest.
That's where we are.
Yes. And it's important. The Russian and British scientists are leaders, it's hard to believe, in predicting earthquakes based on these electromagnetic signals. And they have joined forces to launch a satellite into space. But here's something I found very, very interesting as far as the science is concerned. They said it's not when, but not if.
If, but when.
But also, they also mentioned New Zealand, and they said that the Hikurangi subduction zone is one of the world's biggest fault lines, and there's evidence it could set off a quake and a subsequent tsunami in New Zealand.
Wow.
Now here's what they said. This is quote: planets' strong influence on the Earth, but indirectly by influencing the sun. Some planets are very large. If the sun were a basketball, the gas giants Jupiter and Saturn would be the size of a grapefruit, and the Earth would be a grain of pepper.
Wow.
A little tiny. They said Jupiter and Saturn cause extra tides on the sun. I didn't know that. As in the case of the Earth and the Moon, these large solar tides become solar activity and solar flares. That's very interesting, because last night we had Aurora Borealis here, and last night the sky was like a turquoise here in Michigan. At the moment, Jupiter and Saturn are on opposite sides of the sun and create a time tug of war with Earth in the center. It began in September of last year and will continue until May. So, yikes, no wonder people are going crazy. It's like we're being pulled, So that actually made sense to me, the geomagnetic force.
All right, you done?
Yeah, for now.
Okay. So I have my first story I think is the most interesting story.
Are you going to hold the Ewok?
I am.
Shouldn't he go back to his planet?
We are his planet. He's gone with us.
He's just a big fat baby,
He's
really.
so cute. Anyway, so I think, like I said, my first story is the most important one. And it's very interesting. It's about the college admissions scandal. Because I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I was wondering, why.
I know someone who's involved, a couple of people who were involved with that.
I don't know if that's something to brag about.
It's not bragging, it's something I know, and they're good people.
Well, my point is that because I'm thinking to myself, stuff like this has happened all along. Why are they doing that, and why are they targeting these people?
You know what? And that's right. And I told one of the people who was involved, I said, there's murderers and rapists and kidnappers. They should be targeted. This is like, okay, what you did wasn't right, but it doesn't involve such a massive thing.
Well, that's why, exactly. And even I was reading in my research about an admissions person who was talking about that when he was letting people into college, he was doing it based on grades, not on their ability to pay. Mm-hmm. And then he said he worked at 2 different schools of 2 different sizes, and so he would have the rejected pile, but then the person over him would go through this pile, and those who could pay full pay, they were admitted, whether they could academically succeed or not. Mm-hmm. So my point is that there's so much that goes on that to target this group of people in this magnitude is bizarre. That's my feeling. Okay?
And so I have said, these are just the bait. They're looking for something beyond that.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Because my research, this is what I found, and this is why I think they're targeting these people, because they're getting the little person, so to speak, upset because their kids don't have a chance to get in school, right? Mm-hmm. And not only that, but there's a mother who is suing, and I can't remember for how much money, and I don't know exactly who, but for a lot of money, because basically she's saying her son was ruined, he worked hard, so they're doing all things that they can to rile up, again, the bottom part of the pyramid as far as the population. So I'm thinking to myself, what are they doing? Now, I found my answer.
He just bit me.
No, it's because he's teething. So, anyway, here's my answer, and I'm going to, actually, it's a quote, and it's a very good quote, and it's a little bit lengthy, but I'm going to read it to you. Mm-hmm. It's by Luis Velasquez. Velasquez. He's a managing partner of the private equity firm FGA Partners and current CEO of innovative technology company called Megahoot. Megahoot. So, in my opinion, this is about control of the population. I'm going to tell you why. So, like I said, this takes up a page, but it's worth it. I want you to listen. So, this is his quote. The implementation of blockchain technology into various industries is still in its infancy. The security and transparency of utilizing blockchain for record keeping will become more crucial as we continue to drift further into the digital life. More people are connecting and interacting in a virtual fashion rather than in a face-to-face fashion. This means that more information is floating in the cloud today than it was even 5 years ago. Whether it be medical, financial, educational, or real estate ownership records, blockchain will become a staple in every industry. Blockchain is called.
Know what that
I'm going to
means.
explain if you listen. From the farmer to the retail store, from the manufacturer to the end user, it's a simple solution to a complex problem, and that is keeping security, transparency, and undeletable records of transactions at the forefront. It means they're going to be able to track everybody from birth to death and every
do
single
that
thing you do,
anyway.
but in a more complex way. Because that's the point with this college admissions scandal. They were putting heads of people that, didn't belong, to get them into sports. So nobody really knew who anybody was. We couldn't really track them. So they want to be able to track you. So listen to this next section.
Okay.
Gone are the days of going back into the file cabinet to lose an old unwanted record or retrieving the wrong medical file for a patient, thus avoiding a potential misreading of a chart. Filing or even issuing a wrong prescription can be avoided. The uses in the medical industry are endless. Let me even add automotive and real estate records to the mix. This would avoid any issues with revealing the true and proper ownership of an auto or a piece of real estate. In the area of education, especially in the light of the recent university admissions scandal, blockchain potentially could avoid this from ever happening again. Just imagine having an immutable and transparent record system that colleges, universities, and examiners can access, as well as confirm within the blockchain the identity and the test records of a student in seconds. This is all going to happen step by step, especially with a scandal like this coming to light. Blockchain will wind up taking it from here. So the point being is now that the parents are going to have a fit and they're going to say, yes, we want my child tracked, because all the bottom of the pyramid who cannot afford what's been happening for millennia anyway. So that's why I said, why are they picking on this group of people? And yes, it was wrong that whatever they did, but there's so much things that go on that are wrong that nobody's ever going to do anything about. And here we have it. Blockchain.
That's very sad.
So this is where it's going, and this is why. So that's why I'm bringing this story forward, okay? So to me, that's the most important piece of information. The rest of it's very important, but that, because it's at the forefront, it's more ways of tracking you. Mind control and programming.
Don't forget that Facebook is tracking you all the time, every minute.
Everybody.
It's
we
part
know
of the DARPA
that.
program.
Yes. So, and this is a follow-up story, a bit of a follow-up story, and one that you reported before. Israel's Bereshit spacecraft. Remember you reported?
Bereshit.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't say that.
Yes, I did. So, anyway, it was launched on the moon recently, which you had talked about. And did you know that it was carrying a 30 million page archive of human knowledge etched into a DVD-sized metal disc? It was just recently revealed. It's called the Lunar Library and constitutes a civilization backup to help ensure that our distant descendants never lose humanity's collective wisdom, according to Nova Spivak, co-founder of Arch Mission Foundation, a non-profit based in Los Angeles, which is behind the project. Now, it's interesting, when I first read this, I'm thinking, why put this on the moon?
So that means they expect humans to leave the Earth and maybe lose track of their history, and so now this will be floating around in space and they can find it and know who they are.
I don't know, I think it's really silly. Anyway, and you talked about this before, that Bereshit is the first word of the Hebrew Bible, which means in the beginning.
In the beginning. It's the first word of the Bible, yeah. Bereshit means in the beginning, yeah.
So Paul Davies, director of the Beyond Center for Fundamental Concepts in Physics at Arizona State University, says if we can leave records on the moon for a huge duration, maybe E.T. will have done the same. In fact, he says it might make sense for humans to look for alien artifacts on the moon. Or other locations.
There's plenty of those.
But they're bringing this forward now for people to think about. And then it says, so that people of the future can read it, it's engraved with tiny images of books, other documents explaining human linguistics, along with instructions about how to read the library beneath. Well, if you can't read it...
Do you think that my books are in there?
I don't know, maybe. It says the introductory layers can easily be viewed when magnified 100 times under a simple microscope, And that they said they can be intact and unburied after 10 million, maybe 50 million years.
So I'll be around for that.
Anyway, I just thought it was strange. But then they go on to do say that they're also leaving it in caves and mountains on the Earth, on other locations on the Moon, on Mars, and in deep space. So I thought this was all very interesting information. And actually, it reminded me of the seed bank on Svalbard, which we visited some years ago. But anyway, it's very
They
interesting.
almost put me in that seed bank.
Yeah,
It was
right.
very scary.
We could just walk right up to it, remember?
I know.
But it was interesting, I saw something on National Geographic, I think, whereas if you got behind the doors, that's when they're waiting with all the machine guns for
Yeah.
you. Okay.
That's why I sent you in first.
Yeah, we didn't go in, silly. And then, speaking of off-world, NASA had planetary defense officer for NASA told BBC last week that a historic asteroid exploded in the Earth's atmosphere in December.
Oh, so
Last
3
months
months later they tell us
Yes,
about
that had 10 times the energy that the Hiroshima atomic bomb had.
that. Mm-hmm.
It said a meteor that swings that size swings by every 2 or 3 times every 100 years.
Yeah, I remember 100 years ago that happened too. Yeah.
And it said apparently on December 18th that NASA was alerted by the U.S. Air Force that this blast had occurred over the Bering Sea.
That's by Alaska.
And it said that the asteroid measured several meters and had the impact energy of 173 kilotons.
So it just exploded for no reason.
And exploded about 15 miles above the Earth's surface. So the Hiroshima bomb only had 15 kilotons, and this had 173 kilotons. And they're just now telling us about it.
So 3 months later, so they had time to write a cover story.
Yeah, but so we don't really know what happened over the Bering
Right.
Sea.
And
So
we
that's my
never will.
point. No. And what was also interesting, on the same page as this story was another story, actually that happened in August of 2018, that said a meteor hit the Earth and exploded with 2.1 kilotons of force near a U.S. Air Force base.
Aha.
But the U.S. Air Force
That's not too much of a coincidence.
base had not reported the event, and has
course
still not reported the event. And they didn't
Because
say
there's
where the
just
Air Force.
nothing.
They didn't say where the U.S. Air Force base was.
Because they're full of you know what.
So I just thought that was interesting. And then this was another story.
Can I just say something? These are not explosions of meteor. This is an attack from outside the world.
It's very, very odd. And of course, now they're telling
Yes.
you in their way, which we have talked about this for years, that all these meteors and asteroids and all these things are telling you is not what they're telling you, although they're just telling you there's something out there. So they're starting it. And speaking of something not being correct, and NASA, this is again a story that's just now being reported. How long ago was Hurricane Harvey? A year ago, 2 years ago?
A year and a half ago?
Yeah, a year and a half ago, right? Now they're telling us that apparently at that time, NASA wanted to fly a pollution spotting plane over Houston. But the EPA told them they could not do it. Interestingly enough,
They find a lot of pollution over Houston.
and also the state of Texas also said that the scientists could not come. And the scientists were baffled because they had the plane ready to go, and apparently they've done this over other hurricane zones. And they wanted to monitor the pollution levels. Well, EPA and state officials said that NASA's data would cause confusion and would overlap their own analysis, which was showing only a few isolated spots of concern.
So I'll translate. There's a lot of things that would be picked up that we don't want the public to know, so we're not going to let you do it.
It was interesting because NASA has a base in Houston. So anyway, this is also interesting because Michael Honeycutt, Texas's director of toxicology, said, at this time we don't think your data would be useful. But guess what? He's a controversial toxicologist who has suggested that air pollution may be beneficial to human health.
Really? So go
Yeah.
outside and breathe a tailpipe or something.
Yeah, and he's the director of toxicology, and he's the one that put the kibosh on
I
it.
think maybe he's been breathing in too much pollution.
I don't know. Anyway, I just thought that was a very interesting, again, some kind of cover-up story. We'll never know, but it's interesting to be aware of. Now, also, speaking of New World religion, which I keep telling you about, a lot of things are happening, and I have talked to you several times about waters and mountains being given human rights, legal status, as same as a human. Not that, aborted babies they can kill, but mountains and rivers we can do it. Anyway, the University of Sydney has a 6-themed Future Fix research program that wants to give all animals and plants the same legal rights as humans in multi-species justice project.
Uh-huh.
Now, they are having a symposium in June where they're inviting people from all over the world to come and talk about it. However, the Institute of Public Affairs Western Civilization Director, Dr. Bella Debrera, said that multi-species justice is not a genuine problem faced by Australians. She says the same people who want to kill cows to stop climate change now want to give wombats the vote. Wombats. She said the fact that they genuinely believe multi-species justice to be a global problem reveals the massive divide between the real world and the academy.
Well, you know, quite honestly, I think the wombats would have a better electoral vote than humans.
But my point is that in New World religion, just like the old paganism, you know, they would worship the spirit of this or that, the more that we give legal rights or the more we bring up the fact that plants and animals and humans are all the same, the more power we give to New World religion, to astral worship, to, you know, just old paganism coming up again, but in a new form. Mm-hmm. So, and speaking of New World religion, there was a video game that's since been pulled, I will tell you. But, you know, again, like everything else, they put it out so that people are aware of it, and it starts opening that frequency. So, and I've told you for a long time, as rape, we've reported quite a few rape stories, that they are trying to normalize rape. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, here we have it. This is actually a game, a video game called Rape Day that encourages players to rape and murder women, and then alongside sexually explicit images and a description warning of, quote, violence, sexual assault, non-consensual sex, obscene language, necrophilia, and incest. I've also talked about incest, that they're trying to legalize that. And of course, we talked about necrophilia. They're trying to legalize that too. I talked about that in my last podcast. Desk Plant, which is the game's developer, claims it's a dark comedy. And it says, quote, murder has been normalized in fiction. And that's true, unfortunately. While rape has yet to be normalized. Valve eventually pulled the game from the Steam store, but said it did not want to engage in debates in the future about how it polices its platform, despite claiming that the point of the game is to allow players to experience that they can't or should not. In reality, the game's developer revealed, which why would they reveal this, but they did, so they want you to know, a baby killing scene had been removed due to public outcry. So again, it's more ritualistic New World religion stuff. So that's, you know, it's coming. Now, this story I thought you would particularly like, because as long as I've known you, you've talked about the junk DNA, correct? Mm-hmm. And what the scientists are telling you is junk DNA is not junk DNA. Well, guess what? Now they're claiming that scientists have discovered that they're calling it non-coding DNA, or junk DNA controls regeneration. Mm-hmm. And that humans of the future could actually regrow limbs.
Right.
Apparently, full body regeneration is seen in jellyfish, sea anemones, and planarian worms. And as they have decoded this non-decodable junk DNA, they found a gene called an early growth response, or EGR. And they're saying that now that we can turn that on and grow and regenerate new limbs.
Well, that's what I've been saying for 30 years.
Yes. More than that, probably. But now they're actually telling you about this. That junk DNA is not junk DNA, and that's what we have been telling you since we've been doing our work. Now, this other thing, again, reminds me of control of people, losing control over your body and the bodies of your loved ones. Because like here in the States, if you want to be an organ donor, you have to sign something on the back of your driver's license. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can do it online if you don't have a driver's license, saying you want to be an organ donor. Well, now, the Brits in Britain, the British people, now they are considered an organ donor unless they opt out.
So, nobody wants their organs.
Well, point being is, you know, that something could happen, unfortunately, and very quickly to somebody you know and love, and if they have not opted out, there goes their body. You have no say over it.
Like it's full of alcohol.
I'm just telling you that these things can happen. And, you know, alcohol could be used, depending on the state of the organ, to actually clean it out.
Really?
It could.
Well, then I better get started.
Yeah. Well, anyway, my point being is it's another way of them saying we have control of your body. Because, you know, they tell you these things and people don't realize that. And then the next thing you know, they're hauling away your loved one and cutting them into pieces, and you may not want that, and they may not have wanted that.
I have a list of people that can cut into pieces.
Yeah. Okay, next story. Canada, one of your favorite countries. The Supreme Court of British Columbia in Canada recently ordered that a 14-year-old girl receive testosterone injections without parental consent.
Why?
The court declared that if either of her parents referred to her using female pronouns or addressed her by her birth name, they would be considered guilty of family violence.
This is why Canada isn't a toilet bowl.
I think I talked about this story when it first broke, about how she was taken away from her family because a teacher...
They should put Trudeau away from his family.
A teacher encouraged this, I guess it's a girl.
I should say Castro Trudeau.
Yeah, the teacher encouraged this girl to become a boy, so to speak, and the parents lost control. And so now they've really lost control. So
the teacher should be executed.
So anyway, it says when she was 13 years old, Dr. Brendan Hirsch and his colleagues at BC Children's Hospital decided that Maxine should begin taking testosterone injections to develop a more masculine appearance. I mean, this is a 13.
How old is she?
She's now 14. When she was 13 was when it all began. She's too young to make that choice.
Yeah.
And the doctors are too young to make it for her.
The doctors should not be even involved.
Right. It's the parent. It's a family decision. It's the parents. So again, horrible things going on. And more breakup of the family, okay?
Canada will suffer for this.
Another story about breaking up the families. This was very interesting to me. Apparently they're saying it's now a new trend that when couples get married, they don't take a honeymoon, they take a solo moon or a uni-moon.
I heard about that.
And they do not invite their new spouse.
I heard that's really, why did you get married?
Exactly. And so then, of course, they have a newly-wed woman saying, neither one of us wanted to be where the other one was. Well, then why did you get married,
really?
Right? So anyway, according to an online dating expert and a sociologist for the dating app called Bumble, this is all a part of the evolving idea of what marriage means.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It just says that you can't have one partner to fulfill all your roles, and so therefore you should all take separate vacations.
I wanted to talk to you about that, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. And then my last story. You might want to close your ears for this one, no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a new body modification trend, or they're going to make it that.
Do I want to know this?
Probably not. Anyway, a man traveled from Australia to, guess what? Stockholm, Sweden, where he wanted to get the inside of his ears cut out.
Oh, I saw that story.
Did you see that one? It's terrible.
It's like holes in the...
It's called a conch
Why?
removal. It involves
Why?
taking out the conch, or the middle bit of the outer ear.
But why would you do that?
Well, there was an audiologist who wrote, when this article broke, I don't know how to say his name, Sar Jalani, I think, or Sar Jalani. He says, quote, as an audiologist, this is really making my eyes bleed. The whole post, picture and everything. Please, for the love of your own ears and hearing, do not get this procedure done thinking it won't make a difference to your hearing.
But why would you want it?
Please use your brain with common sense before getting such procedures done.
These people are
please.
mentally ill.
They're programmed, and what do I tell people? I say,
they're mentally ill.
read our books, 13 Cubed, do your basic deprogramming exercises, Hyperspace Helper, and please, don't refer to yourself as a targeted individual. That's ridiculous.
No one's
and it makes it
lasering
happen.
your eyes, and no one's poisoning your food. This
Exactly.
is all in your head.
So, read these 2 books. This will give you a really good start. And I don't think I have True Reality Sexuality. I sold out of those, and I had to sell.
You did?
I did. I have them being reprinted. So, but anyway, True Reality of Sexuality talks about how to stop it. Affirmations we have in there about how to stop it. But, this is programming. You don't want to do this to yourself or your body. Mm-hmm. So that's what we teach you, how to control your mind before other people do it for you. So Decoding Your Life is a great book. Your Little Stuart Says book is good. You like alien stuff. You want to read Montauk, Alien Connection, Stuart's autobiography. We have Blue Blood and True World History. And we have healing books. We have everything. We have even Native American, the archetypal story of creation going on here. So we have lots of information that you can read, and so you can start making up your own mind. Mm-hmm. And you want to get a membership on our site, less than $1 a day, and you have access to our Q&A blog. Because I want to tell you, we do not do Q&A on Facebook. We do not do Q&A on YouTube. And people are always writing in questions. Less than $1 a day, you can have access to our blog at www.expansions.com. Webinars. We have a new series of webinars starting in April. I only have 2 left. That's based on this book, Self-Healing, Awareness of Self-Healing, and it's called Affirming You. We have 2 sessions left, one in April, one in May. We have people from all over the world that join us. It's great, and then we break for the summer. Then you are going to be heading off soon to the Bahamas. Where are you going? I guess that's a separate vacation thing.
Yeah, I decided I didn't want to go
about.
with you anywhere, so I'm going there with myself. I will actually be speaking to the Bahamian people on the radio live for the new Prime Minister.
Okay. Then
there's a perspective of my new television series, which will begin next month, supposedly, about Montauk and a Philadelphia experiment.
I'll find out.
Then I was asked to come back to Turkey, where I'll be doing work in both Istanbul and Ankara, which is the capital of Turkey. And then you?
In Italy, I have 1 space left in the van on our Clear Health and Healing tour.
If you kick me out.
Yeah. So I have 1 space left in there. I do have somebody coming with a private car who might take another 1 or 2 people. So once we get the last spot filled, and our registration closes April 30th. So if you want to go, let me know. If you have like 2 people, if you're like friends or a couple or whatever that want to go, let me know as soon as possible, because I have to find out if there'll be space in the private car, or if we have enough, we might rent another car. We'll see.
And then, in my diplomatic position, as you know, I'm the ambassador tier for the Sacred Medical Order of the Knights of Hope. I am dealing with the Russian Foreign Ministry and the St. Kitts Nevis Foreign Ministry to gain permission for Steven Seagal, special envoy of the government of Russia, to come to Nevis and Kitts in October to do a very special congress, and that's in progress right now with I'm doing the going back and forth between everybody.
So are we still going to do a September class?
It might be our last one.
So there you have it.
Last one.
So we have lots of things going on. If you want to get to know our work, join our website membership, read our books, watch our videos.
Well, speaking of books, we have 3 new books being edited.
You always tell them, but...
Yeah, because you're not finishing them.
I am working as diligently as I can.
Well, you know what? Next week you're getting a review.
So I'm telling you, it's better just not to tell them these things.
I want to tell them because I do have them out there, and they're very good books. You said it was the best book I ever wrote.
The last one especially I like. So yes, so no, it's coming. They're coming out. It just takes us time because we're very busy people, as you can well imagine.
And plus, you don't pay attention to what I tell you, so you're not doing what I ask. So. And then...
I think it works the other way.
Yeah, whatever. And then, as you may have seen on the internet, YouTube is censoring videos, and my last information is they're actually altering the viewer numbers of each video. So like when we would have, let's say, 10,000 per video, they're showing it like 3,000. They cut it even though it's not true. So there's a lot of censorship going on. And we are going to say what we have to say regardless. And if they do anything to us, we will still have a presence, and we will have alternative methods to promote our work. So those of you who care about us and support us, please send the links to our videos to everyone you know that is interested.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Like people have been telling us, even if though they try to get that notification by hitting that bell, it doesn't come on a lot of times. And it was interesting, I wasn't here last week to help you with the podcast.
Yeah, I was all alone with a lot of trauma.
What was interesting to me is like as soon as it was published, 2 seconds after, we got a notice that it was not suitable for all
just
audiences.
Automatically, everything we post, automatically they put a kibosh on.
And sometimes they go back even 2 years, all of a sudden I'll see something that pops up that we're not.
So it's up to you people to promote it, send the links to everyone you know on the earth.
There you go. So
Screw those YouTube people.
Yeah, so until next time.
Bye.
Bye.